All right, let's talk about creatine. It is, without a doubt, one of the most popular, most effective, but also one of the most misunderstood supplements on the entire planet. I mean, if you've ever even thought about going to a gym, you've heard of it. And you've probably heard some pretty wild claims, too. So today, we're going to separate the real science from the fiction, and we're starting with a perfect example of the chaos you find online.
So, our whole journey into this rabbit hole started with this one simple question. Somebody on a Reddit workout forum just wanted to know, hey, can I have a soda with dinner after I took my creatine? Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, the internet had other ideas. The top voted answer, and I am not making this up, came from a user named Mr. String Cheese 16. And it started with this absolutely terrifying warning. They claim that the acid in the soda is going to react with the creatine, create some kind of gaseous explosion in your stomach, and you will literally combust. And die. Right there, just poof. But here's the thing. That incredibly dire prediction of a fiery death in your kitchen, that was only the first half of the comment. The second half is where this whole thing gets really good. And there it is. The second half just completely pulls a 180. Just drink the soda, bro, you're fine. This one comment is the perfect snapshot of online fitness advice, isn't it? You've got absolute pants-on-fire fear-mongering smashed right up against total casual dismissal. It's hilarious, yeah, but it points to a real problem. How is anyone supposed to figure out what's true? So, to get away from all that madness, we're just going to cut right through the bro science and get straight to the facts. Let's actually build a foundation based on what decades of real scientific research tell us about what this stuff is and what it actually does. Okay, first thing you need to know, creatine is not some weird synthetic lab chemical. It's a totally natural compound that your own body already makes and stores, mostly in your muscles. Its main job is to help regenerate something called ATP, which is basically the energy currency for your cells. So think of it like a super fast recharging system for your muscles during short, explosive bursts of power, like lifting a heavy weight or a quick sprint. And this part is so important. You know, unlike so many other supplements out there that are mostly just marketing hype, creatine is an absolute giant in the world of scientific research. We are talking hundreds and hundreds of studies over decades, all confirming that it works and that it's safe for healthy people. All right, so now for the main event. Let's take the most common myths and fears you hear about creatine and put them head-to-head with what the actual science says. This is it. This is, without a doubt, the number one concern you'll hear from people, the idea that this simple white powder is secretly wrecking your internal organs. It's a really powerful and sticky myth. So, is there any truth to it? Well, the disconnect here is just massive. On one side, you've got this vague fear, I heard from a guy who heard from a guy, and on the other side, you have the absolute highest level of scientific evidence we can get, a massive systematic review from 2019. They looked at all the available data, and the conclusion was crystal clear. For people with healthy kidneys, it is simply not an issue. Period. Okay, so what about the other big worries? This trio of supposed side effects comes up all the time. Dehydration, cramping, and especially the hair loss claim. That one has scared a lot of guys away from a perfectly safe and effective supplement. The science on these is also really clear. Let's knock them out. A major review found that, contrary to the myth, creatine does not cause dehydration or cramping. In fact, it might even help athletes perform better in the heat. Now, as for hair loss, that entire global panic is based on one single study from way back in 2009. Since then, multiple other studies have looked for the hormonal changes that would need to happen, specifically changes in testosterone, and they just haven't found any. Here's another huge one. There's this idea that creatine is a guys-only supplement. And a lot of women are afraid that if they take it, they're going to instantly get bulky or gain a bunch of weight they don't want. So what does the data say about that? Well, to answer that, we can look at a huge systematic review from 2020 that focused specifically on women. They gathered up the data from 29 different clinical trials, which included almost 1,000 female participants taking creatine. This gives us a really powerful look at the actual effects. So, what did they find? When the researchers pulled all that data together to look at changes in body weight, they found 0. And I mean a literal 0. Significant difference in weight gain between the women who were taking creatine and the women who were just taking a placebo. The idea that it automatically makes women gain unwanted weight is just not backed up by the evidence. So we've busted the myths, which is great, but the story doesn't stop there. Because the research on creatine has exploded way beyond just building muscle. It's now revealing some genuinely surprising benefits for all sorts of people, not just bodybuilders. And the benefits are incredibly diverse. I mean, think about it. Your brain is a super high energy organ, right? So it makes sense that studies show creatine can actually support cognitive function and brain health. Some research even suggests it might help reduce symptoms of depression, especially in women. For athletes, it speeds up recovery, and for older adults, it's fantastic for maintaining muscle and strength. It's just a remarkably versatile molecule. Okay, so let's say you're convinced. The science is solid, the myths are busted, and you want to give it a try. But then you walk into a supplement store or look online, and it's overwhelming. Which kind do you buy? How much do you take? When? Let's just simplify the whole thing based on the actual evidence.
Let's just cut through all the marketing hype. You're going to see all these fancy, expensive versions. You'll see creatine HCl, which says it's more soluble, but guess what? There are no human studies comparing it to the original. You'll see buffered creatine, which claims to be more stable, but a study back in 2012 found it was no better at all. Look, the scientific verdict here is overwhelming. Plain old, cheap creatine monohydrate is the gold standard. It's the one they use in almost all the research, and we know for a fact that it works.
And how you take it is also super simple. Don't overthink this. All you need is 3 to 5 grams a day. That's about a teaspoon. You don't need to do any of those complicated loading phases you might read about. Just take it every day. As for timing, there might be a tiny benefit to taking it after your workout, but honestly, what matters 1,000 times more is just being consistent. Take it whenever you know you won't forget. And that's where we'll end it. This whole journey from that ridiculous Reddit comment to the super clear scientific consensus, it really shows you how much bad information is floating around out there. And it leaves us with one final thought. If the common knowledge about one of the most heavily researched supplements in history can be this wrong, what other fitness and nutrition rules that we all just accept as true are actually built on nothing more than myth? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.